Daddy Mac. Dance 30 years got our way, trading life and markets every day. Rusty's chained to the mines, digging deep day by day. But when Option Omega releases new features, he's free to come out and play. Option Omega, you're trading home, where every move makes you feel less alone.
This mid cutoff. I love it. You wait for that last bar for the resolution. We say, nope. Straight to the action. Straight to the action. So how you boys doing this morning?
It's a weird week because tomorrow's Friday, so it doesn't feel. I feel like it doesn't feel like a normal week. And today the market, it's not a half day, but it closes early, right?
One, right?
I think 1 Eastern.
Is it 1? Okay. So yes, it's just got an odd vibe today.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if there's that many half. I wonder how many in the year. There can't be more than a couple that have. You have that half day, and then you got the full day after. So we should be interesting if I'm just looking with the jobs report. It looks like a little better than expected. I don't know how much we're up. Futures are up 10. I want to see if we get a chance in the get the VIX into the 15s a bit.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That would get Troy would cancel all appointments today and barricade himself in a room.
Yeah.
What vol number, Troy? Let's be honest. What vol number? If VIX goes to where today, where do you lock yourself in a room? Tell Melissa, I can't be bothered for a couple hours. What vol number is that?
I go back and forth because I don't know which one I'd rather have. I don't know if I'd rather have it just go to 12 today.
12.
And then I mortgage my house.
Oh, absolutely.
And make some bad decisions.
Yeah.
Or
please don't.
Or it's not financial advice, of course.
Of course.
I might mortgage my house if the VIX goes to 12 today.
So you're not trying to be reasonable and say 15. You're going for the big kahuna, 12.
No, because 15 can go down to 14 and 12 can go to 11, but you're running out of. I mean, there's a floor on VIX.
Yeah.
And 12 in my trading career, 12 has been about it.
And don't we still have? I mean, at least a catalyst. What's the next big? I want to say just because I think that's a nice name. Liberation. Is it July 9th, Matt and Troy? The next big.
Yeah, there's so much less news about this now. It feels like just all the air has been sucked out of the room.
Well, he played it. He played it perfect. I mean,
he did.
He played it perfect. We're going to do a 90-day pause. Was it 90-day or 30-day? Whatever. 60-day pause. And May, June, 90-day pause, whatever. And we're going to just, negotiate. That gives us time to negotiate, let the market cool off. The market did cool off. There has been like 2 deals done. He hasn't. There's no.
I think they did Vietnam the other day, right?
Right. They did Vietnam. They're like Japan.
Okay. Is that a token one? We'll do now.
It's bottom of the list.
I'll listen. I'll push back with you on the Vietnam thing. There's a lot. The U.S. Vietnam took a lot of the low cost Chinese manufacturing has been for a while.
What, really?
It's bottom on the list of ones that matter. It does matter.
Yeah, right. It's not a head. I understand you're saying it's not a headline. It's not.
Oh, it's a headline yesterday.
I don't know where. I didn't read the headlines on where it ranks in terms of volume. I just know that, like, I'll just say this: you look at a lot of tags now. There's a lot of tags that say "Made in Vietnam" that didn't used to. In the U.S., which is, we're talking about Trump, so.
Yeah. But I mean, he played it out perfect. Japan, he's just like, yeah, there's no deal with Japan. It's fine. Whatever. And the market's like, okay, we just needed to take a breather. So now with tariffs, is someone's phone? Is that your phone?
Oh, you know what? I'm listening to that.
And you're blowing up.
I'm listening. You guys are
People
not
love
even
it.
listening to. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
I love it. So I don't know. I mean, I think tariffs would have to get really bad. I think like the data would have to start coming in. And Powell, you see Powell, who is kind of like, well, I would he, he's been quiet as Trump has just eviscerated him and been like, "You're the worst person of all time."
Yes, even though he appointed him.
Yeah, you hurt children, women and children with your actions, and you should quit. Powell kind of finally punched back a little bit this week. He did it in the most JPOW way. Did you hear what he said about that?
No. What did he say?
They asked him. He was at this conference 2 days ago.
They live at conferences.
They do. They really do. And they said, someone asked him, did tariffs have an impact on your decision to not cut rates? And he said rates would be a lot lower right now if it wasn't for tariff. We had a plan.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Which is exactly what you should say. I mean, if you guys are going back and forth like that, and be like, "Hey, bud, like, stop making decisions that are risky, and we'll cut rates." That's the part this doesn't want.
Chat says Vietnam is a top 10, 10th largest, so I'd say top 10 partner in the U.S. You can argue whether that's a big deal or not, but your point is taken, and the JPOW thing is super interesting because those people just live different lives. I don't know Trump or JPOW. They've rebuffed our attempts to get them on the show, everybody, just so you know.
So far.
The day's not over. We have a half day today to work on it. But I think that, when you get that level, it's tough to know what people's incentives and motivations are. And JPOW is in a very powerful role. And certainly there's dollars associated with that, but the influence that he's going to have the rest of his life is tied to this role, and monetizing that through the various ways that people do this by writing books and speaking. It's just hard to get inside their minds.
Oh, so, both. I think.
Yeah, even Trump times what I just said. Trump times a billion. So
yeah, for various different ways. Like they've both got a limited time frame to do what they want to do. Powell. I mean, the Federal Reserve Chair, whether you like this or hate this, in my mind, is arguably more powerful than the president.
In terms of setting economic policy, you mean?
In terms of like the life of, and in terms of the life of day-to-day Americans, I think there's actually a pretty strong case to be made that the Fed chair is more powerful than the president. Because they. You think about people that ran, I'm going to run on tax cuts. I'm going to run on things like that. Well, those things affect people. But I'll tell you what affects people a lot is interest rates. It touches everything.
Yeah.
It touches everything. And so it's just a huge
It really
lever.
does.
It's a huge lever.
It is wild to think about. I mean, we're at all-time highs, pumping higher in pre-market, and we're talking about cutting rates. What? Like, it's strange time. Well, Simon, strange times.
But that's what they all listen. Can I just listen? It's just a half day. Do you care if Papa just goes on a little bit of a rant this morning?
Man, I'm about to go get some fireworks and set them off, Troy.
You care if I go to a rant?
Yeah.
You might have listened to me and be like, well, this guy obviously, is a Biden guy. Look how mean he is to Trump. I'm not like that political in that sense. Here's what's crazy to me. Inflation goes up when there's free money going around. The economy runs on free money going around.
Yes.
So you do the math long term, how that's going to work out. You know what I mean? Like people are like, we got to lower the interest rates. We got to make it more. It's too restrictive right now. We are at 4.2 on the 10-year right now. Like my grandpa, perfect credit, and he was thrilled to death to get 6.5 in the early 2000s.
Yeah,
like shouting it from the street how proud he was.
Oh, that was 6.5 compared to like the 80s and something. I remember my parents, it was like 6 would be unheard of. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that doesn't, that what that reveals to me now is that 4.2 is tough to us, or 4.3, or wherever we're at. It kind of shows the degradation of the health of the economy in my mind. Does that make sense at all?
yes.
And that rant over. That's really my big thing. It's just the fact that we can't stomach. We have so much debt that we can't stomach, 4.7 interest rate.
Yeah.
Like at 4.5, basically Trump had to like completely pause everything he was doing. Like, it just shows in my mind that like credit, it is, man, when you live by the sword, you die by the sword.
Not
And
a lot
that's
of room for
that's
error.
the whole world. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot of focus. Well, there's not a lot of focus. There's a lot of chatter in certain online circles about the unsustainability of the US debt. I would say there's not a lot of focus from US politicians on it. And when you look at the US debt, it's scary. And then you start looking at all these other countries around the world. It's not just the US. Like this economic system that we live in is, yes, perpetuated on this mountain of ever-growing debt. And it's like, is it ever gonna come to, like, is it possible that it ever comes to? It's interesting because people like Bill Ackman and Ray Dalio, and Dalio especially has I have not read it. If anybody in the chat's read it, let me know if it's good or not. But he has a book kind of like on these historical view of longer term debt cycles and empires, and how like it, I mean, I think his argument, again, I haven't read the book, but I think he's making the argument that there's this historical context to the cycle we're in is not new. And when you get to this era in the age of a powerful empire or a nation of influence, that this has happened before. And he, he spent a lot of time talking about the specifics of the debt level, the GDP relationship, what it should be and whatnot. And to your point, yeah, I mean, people who are younger, people in the US are unused to anything other than a zero interest rate environment, which is crazy, functionally.
And I tell you what's sad, and this is my transition to the thing today. What's sad about that is being a slave to debt. As the freest country in the world, celebrating its Independence Day, because guys, you remember when the world was in darkness of slavery, and then America set the world free.
Oh my gosh, I don't remember either of those things.
Well, the world was in tyranny. Okay. And then we had a 6'5" guy from Virginia that said, "Over my dead body." And
I wasn't there for that. A few of those details seem a little off.
I visited. He lived in a little house called Mount Vernon in Washington, D.C. And he had wooden teeth.
Okay.
And he couldn't tell a lie to save his life. Right.
Wow.
And he said, "Hey, world, why don't we just go ahead and fix
He said, give me liberty or give me death."
Yeah, he said, "Liberty or death."
I've not yet begun to fight.
He said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, what you can do for your country." He said, "China a lot."
China.
He said, "China." That guy did. That's the question. Did George Washington know literally anything about China?
Did he know China existed? I think so.
Probably. He's a smart guy. Anyway, so
I wish I had you as my history teacher when I was. You would have been a great history. That's the history teacher I missed. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to the chat, JPOW. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Ray Dalio has a 40-minute video on YouTube on the changing world order. Yeah. Might be a good watch for celebrating U.S. Grant's birthday tomorrow on July 4th, since we're mixing holidays.
Shout out a comedian named Shane Gillis who has a good bit about how terrifying George Washington was to the British. Like this giant 6'4" guy with wooden teeth. Just yelling,
Have you guys seen? Okay, I mean, guys, this is a half day. This show is very serious, as you know, but this is a half
the
day.
Feeling of the teacher.
Okay, Chat, we want to see if you're not American, apologies. You can still participate.
And we mean it.
What?
Apologies.
Yeah,
if you're not
apologies. That's why I
American.
paused.
If you're not American.
What are some of the best movies to watch on 4th of July? And I'm going to respond. Troy, you told a story about Washington. Have you guys seen the movie Lincoln with Daniel Day-Lewis as Lincoln?
Riveting.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Do you remember the story he tells about? We can't tell it on the show because it'll get a language filter, but he tells a story while they're waiting in the telegraph room with Kylo Ren for the telegraph to come through about the picture of George Washington in the bathroom. Do you remember this story? Ethan Allen? No, you got to go back. Here's my two movies for the 4th of July. Lincoln would be one. The other would be Gettysburg, which
that's a great one.
Quick history lesson: 3-day battle in Pennsylvania, 1863, and probably the most. The U.S. compared to a lot of listeners, the U.S. hasn't been around as a functional nation that long compared to many countries. So we don't have battles from, we don't have the Norman invasion or the 7 Years' War or Austerlitz or any of these things.
Yeah.
But Gettysburg is probably the most impactful battle in U.S. history, what people would call, at least in the cultural eye.
Yeah.
And there's a movie, it's rated PG. There's an extended version, which I recommend. And my dad took me to see the extended version, and I think I got 8 popcorns, and I was probably like 10 years old. And he took me to the Dollar Theater, and we saw it in a small, hot upstairs theater. But it was so long, it had an intermission. And
Wow.
My kids know some of the generals' names because it runs so frequently in this house.
Wow.
And it will be on tomorrow again, at least partly. So drop
I
a
love-
movie.
I love shout out
4th of July, Blade Runner, kind of a dystopian take. Team America going a completely third direction from Lincoln or Blade Runner.
Listen, there's only one answer. I'm gonna go ahead and just save some time because we got to move on. There's only one answer to this, and I'll go ahead and give you the answer. And strangely enough, it's an answer that
Rocky 12.
I was gonna bring up. You got to bring in some Rocky movie.
This is America. Rocky 4 was a great 4th of July movie, but Forrest Gump.
Oh yeah, yeah.
By far the best movie of all time.
Yeah,
fantastic idea. Really interesting, Troy.
Because it gives you the full sense of both the South and the North in the last 75 years.
And if you're ever in Chicago at Navy Pier, I don't know if they still have it, the Forrest Gump restaurant.
Oh, Bubba Gump shrimp is a delicious.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Side note: on Saturdays, I have Sirius Radio, and I'll listen to Sundays. I think is the radio. CNBC just plays old episodes of a show that the guy who runs Bubba Gump at Navy Pier also owns the Houston Rockets.
Oh, Perat.
What's his face?
Prada or Per?
Yeah, something. I don't remember his name.
I know.
But, he's a Texas guy. But anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So Independence Day, Glenn, great choice as well. All right, here we go. So we're going to try to finish our discussion for this week on a little credit spread that you can do when things are going south, but you still feel comfortable with everything. So first off, I'm going to shout out to Johnny. I'm going to show you this real quick, and then I'm going to show you a version to make it 5,000 because of another test we're going to look at.
Okay.
So if you remember, the idea was a move down of various lengths. So in this case, it's a move down of 0.25% up to 0.4%. RSI is 55. We're doing one position at a time. Actually, you can only have one position on at a time because this is multi-day trades. That's an important distinction. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Max open trades.
Yes.
So it's not contracts per trade. It's how many of these you can have on at any given time.
Yes.
That's a great thing. So you don't have no overlapping.
Mm-hmm.
So you could only have one on it at a time.
So you basically could have Yeah, you put one on, and let's say it happened the next day, same thing could fire. It doesn't. We wait till this closes.
Okay, that's great for small accounts because it's like deal with this before you deal with
Yeah. And
two of these things.
this is one you could run on a much longer time frame pretty straightforwardly.
Yeah. Yeah, you could. I'm going to show you the $5,000 version of it. Very similar. I mean, it's the exact same, except for literally you're starting with 5,000. So you're risking 2 to make 1 with an 85% win rate. I think that's right. Right? You're risking 2 to make 1 with an 85% win rate, which seems pretty good, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a little higher than I would have thought I mean, you're selling a 42 delta. So I wouldn't think 85%. Right?
Yeah, but and so what's the
well, that's not probability, that's just win percentage.
What's the thesis here? Like you've got you're like not a bullish market, RSI 55 and above, but you want to move down, but not too big of a move down, and only on certain days. So there's a thesis, it's fitted to a couple days. Is use exact DTE on? I'm trying to do the math if that would even matter. I don't think it would matter. I don't think it would matter because of the 5 DTE.
Right. And you're just doing it
on
Monday.
On Monday, you're doing the following Monday.
Yes.
Right.
So Monday, that's exactly right. So,
yeah, but to the point, you're avoiding sequence risk, right? Because you're only doing one at a time.
That's exactly right. So shout out Johnny. I mean, that's a good. He moved the delta up even more, which we like.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Dan. Dan hasn't got to talk much today. We've been talking about.
Oh no, I was fascinated. You guys with the history. I love that. No. Go ahead. No, I was just gonna say like on the 4. When really this is just it's not a probability put credit spread. This is more of a probability to go a lower delta. This is more, hey, we're taking advantage. We're in an uptrending market, which whether you look at the last 10 years or 3 years, overall, yes, right? And if you want to make a little more, the 42 delta, you'll get a bigger credit, a little better risk reward. I think this is a great strategy when you're saying, hey, it's not, because it's different. What you agree, it's one thing to say, I want to do a 10 delta put credit spread. I don't think we're going down that far. This is 42 delta saying, no, I'm not playing the probability game. We're going with the uptrend, right?
Yeah.
We're going with that uptrend, making a little bit more. We're getting a bigger credit, better risk reward. But you got those slight, we just want some, because that's what it feels like. Take the last 9 days. Give us something. Give us 15 points down. Give us something, right? Yeah. And that's what you're asking here. Just give us a little bit that we could feel better putting a put credit spread on, because you're not going to get.
You'll put some gas in the tank.
Yeah, gas in the tank. And as I just from a numbers game, I wonder if anybody know. I'm looking. I don't mean to change the subject, but I'm looking at the ES futures chart right now, and you look at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That'd be the 9th green day in a row, or whatever, 9th day or whatever.
Yeah.
What numbers? You almost like from a. I love someone like Rob to from a numbers game. What are we looking at? I know the numbers you start getting 9 days. It's like sell, Mortimer, sell, but I know it's, it could go a 10th day. It could go an 11th day, but the numbers definitely, I mean, you want to be careful on how many short deltas you might accumulate at this point, because obviously that hasn't worked out real well, but, have you guys done any numbers on that or thought or
you mean successive up days in a row or something?
Yeah. I mean, have we had 11 up days in a row? Have we had, I mean, I don't think there's many over 10.
It happened a couple months ago, right after Liberation Day on that first move up.
Mm-hmm.
It was a similar thing where we had I think 2 weeks. Rob says every day the chance is 50-50. It's flipping the quarter.
Okay, yeah. But,
Remind me one day, Rob, when you're on to talk about there's a there's a famous quarter flipping thing that's called the Ludic fallacy, and it's very interesting. Made a fellow developer at work one day almost punched me in the face. So I'm very excited to tell that story one day. Anyway,
all right.
Anyway, so let's move on because little Stephen V. I don't know why little. I think I have a name of one of his tests is little Stephen V's little credit spread. He might be 7 foot tall. I don't know. But shout out Johnny. Shout out Stephen E. Because Stephen E. V. did something different with this. Took a similar idea, but went in a different direction completely.
Okay.
So, can you see this?
It's an orb JSP.
It's a longer dated orb. You're using the orb
ride or die
to put it on. So what's he doing here? Well, it's a 35 delta, 15 watts, and he is opening the trade at 12:08. So one of the things he did is there's no floating entry time. He just picked time, and he looks for the orb, and he says at 12, if we are, over the high, 10:30. Sorry, we got some ice going on. Here, Matt, you explain.
Yeah, I'll take over. So he's got a different take on this. A lot of times when you see the orb, it's a floating entry, which is this idea of, okay, the minute the orb breaks out, game on. This is a little bit different in that it is just checking a time. So it's checking a time and saying, okay, are we broken out now? But it's every day. So you still get a few occurrences, and there is a min zero gap up. So that's going to filter some of the days as well. But what it is a ride or die multi DTE. So it's a 3 DTE. So it could go on and go to the moon or go to Sheol, and you're just riding with the thing. So looks like the average winner is $400. The average loser about 960, which makes a lot of sense. But again, how do those numbers interact? Well, the win rate is 85%. So if you have an 85% win rate, you can stomach that risk reward with the losers. And again, this is a JSP. It would be, I love this concept. Again, this is one that you could backtest this a lot longer and get a lot more data points, which I think might be interesting to do. Troy is in the process of linking and sharing these bad boys.
Can I ask some questions on this?
Yeah.
What, number one, why, I don't remember always seeing and the different tests for the entry ignore margin requirement. Is that?
Yeah, that's just to make sure that one of them goes on.
Okay.
Which would maybe be an issue on this. Maybe if you have 5K, you could stack these again. I don't know. I don't know if. Oh yeah. He's only allocating 5% of the account. So that's why it's on. That's a great question. You could, if you did it this way, we'll see what the result is here in a second. But again, this is one wouldn't have to do on SPX. But yeah, like that is very same win percentage, same average winner, average loser, but that shows you that outcome. 47% capture rate is nice. 129 trades is a decent size. Although again, I mean, you guys can play around with this data. You could go back 10 plus years on this and see how this thing holds up.
Keep going. I left my coffee outside.
Okay. Right. Troy's showing off his hot pants.
I like the green. I know. I was mesmerized. The green shorts.
Those are
the lime green shorts, possibly.
We need to have a disclaimer on the screen.
Yeah, we do.
When those things pop up.
Yeah.
Steven, I love this. Here comes Troy again. He's got his drink. It's a coffee, and here's the pants again. It's a coffee in a blue solo cup. Are you drinking a blue solo cup with coffee? Maybe
There's something in there.
possibly.
Yeah. So anyway, that update is helpful, I think, just because ignore margin can confuse people. But here's the thing. Let's talk about for a second.
Hit it.
Small account challenge is for everybody in the community. I'm not going to trade this. I'm not going to trade any of the ones we've looked at today. Personally, I think they're great. I think we found some stuff that's interesting, but let's talk about reasons I wouldn't put it on. Is any of these trades this week? I think the most we've seen have had like 140 trades over a 3-year period. That's not a lot of data to me. Now, what this has shown me though this week, and Rob's point yesterday was really helpful. I kind of want to find the numbers trade. I want to kind of find that like pure statistical lose 50 max, but you have a high probability win rate. That's for the small account. That's what it really has made me think about today. Because like that last test, Steven's test, like it's a killer test. Like it works really, really well.
Yeah.
But the premise stands, I think, that Rob made yesterday is that like you're risking 25% of your capital starting out on that trade, right? You can lose $1,000 on that trade. So if you have $5,000 starting out in your account, that's a tough one, right?
I mean, the other way to do it is and this is a longer conversation on the Greeks, you know, when a lot of people start in options, they buy calls and then they go through the education period and realize, oh, selling puts actually has a lot more. You know, you don't have to have the movement that you may need from buying calls, but some of these would be interesting to do with maybe buying calls or call spreads or butterflies. And that, Troy, may be what you're talking about, where maybe some of these work buying a broken wing butterfly, perhaps, which you can really get the Greeks going in your favor there. And maybe you don't ride or die. Maybe you have a profit target. Maybe you do ride or die with the broken wing, and then you still cover the thing. So just I don't know if that's where you're going. That's where my thoughts went.
And I think, I mean, just from thinking of teaching over the years, I still, you know, I look at this as not just new students, but people who've been trading a while. I still, not real experience, but I use the word fragile, and you know what, they can do the back tests, and that's why I think, like what Rob said, you know, you got to have a max loss, because if early on their first 3-4 months on their account, they're down, you know, on a $5,000 account, they're down 1,000 or something, they're starting to get crazy thoughts, right? Not crazy thoughts, but thoughts like, maybe options aren't good. Maybe I should go coin collecting. Maybe I should, you know, and but I think part of it is just realizing this is a craft. It really is a craft. And again, you know, when I was in the, you know, is there another way to say it? When I was in the trading pit,
No,
yeah,
when you were in the pit,
exactly. Yeah, you were in the
Cheers,
pit.
I'm here
when
today.
he was in the pits.
When I was,
I haven't seen Tom.
Yeah, I haven't seen maybe the last day or two. But when I was in the trading pit, the trading methodology, you'd go stand next to somebody in the pit. You'd watch them all day. It wasn't like, you know, I mean, they might have some classes after work, but you'd watch the guy. You'd slowly get some responsibility. But for the first 6 months down there, they didn't give you the keys to the car, right? They didn't say, okay, you make decisions. So there was a long period, you know, as Tom Sosnoff said to me one time, we were talking about, I said, you know, Tom, I get discouraged at times because, you know, students after 6 months, you know, they're upset if they're broke even with all the learning that goes involved. And he said, remember this, he said, you know, Dan, I backed quite a few traders in my day. I wish most of them would have been break even after 6 months, because that learning curve is, but I think that's the difference. See, in the pit, they had more of a, you know, you could go, many people, including you go 2 years before you could go 2-3 years before you made what you would think would be a normal living, right? When you were down in the pits. But people, in the retail sector, I've noticed, after 3 months, they're itchy. I mean, because they're not looking at it as a craft. They're looking at it as show me the money. And until you can change that mindset, thank you, Cool Hand Luke, get your mind right, Luke, that, hey, for 6 months, learn the craft, do the work, trade small, but keep the losses very, very small with your account. Then when you build the foundation, but a lot of people aren't willing to wait because think about it. How can you build a foundation in a month, right? With live occurrences. I mean, I'm sure, yes, you can back test, and that's a big help. But now you have the forward testing to see, can you handle what you saw in back testing where you lose 2 in a row or 3 in a row? And I've found that most retail traders, no. I mean, look at right now. Let's just talk the last couple of weeks or 3 weeks. Are RICs a cuss word at this point, right? To a degree. I mean, and it's like, you've seen them overall, you've seen them over the years, and I still think they're a great trade. There's a great time for them. But right now, wouldn't you say, Matt and Troy, some of the people out there might say, I ain't touching a RIC right now.
I have a friend who just got into trading, and I put him on some tests that I liked for smaller accounts, smaller stuff. And he lost the first time you put it on, and he says he knows all the right things to say because we've worked at it. He's been learning a lot. He learned a lot and things like that. And
you told him what to say when it goes against you. Yeah.
That's right, I did. And he said basically, like, I know that the numbers work out in my favor. I know to let it go, but how do you know when to take it off since it's obviously going through a rough patch right now? And I said, do you mean that it lost? It went through a rough patch? He's like, yeah. I was like, it's going to lose. Like, you are going to lose money on this trade sometimes. And inversely, he did the second step we were laughing about yesterday. I was like, you were going through all the emotions that I went through, where that was let's say that's a $300 loser, $400 loser. He had a couple of calendars on in the queues, and they were up $20 yesterday. And he texted me, he said, should I take these off since they're winning?
Oh yeah.
Like,
that's
these are questions, it's we laugh at it now, but like, we've all done that. We've all thought, how many times have you looked at a test, especially like even the most seasoned people, where it's like, hey, Liberation Day when VIX is 40, and you're like, you've got a double calendar on, and like, hey, it says it's going to get out at 25% profit, and it's at 22% profit. Should I take it off? Should I go ahead and get out early? It's all just variations of the same question.
Well, Troy, I could tell you real quick.
Yes.
So I have automated a 15-day calendar, putting it on every Thursday. And I put the first one, and I've been doing that for, years in the, just that type of a trade, but automated last week. And it was up, I think, 10% in a couple of days. And I went in out of, because I'm making the transition to trusting the back test more, right? And at 10%, I just clicked and took off. This was an SPX. But what's interesting is, in real life, more times than I'd like to admit, if it gets up 5-6% in one day or two, I'm pulling it. So it was a major accomplishment for me to let it go to 10. Right? For me, it was a major. So I think it's what, I've liked watching the automated trades because they do it much better than I could.
And then there's like phase 17 when you actually circle back around and you're like, actually, guys, you know what? It is okay to take 2% if you made 2% on a trade that's a 10-day trade and you made 2% in an hour. It's okay to get out. Well, you can
backtest that.
You can actually put that in the backtest. And Matt, why can you do that to our backtester? Why is that?
Because we have profit actions and time actions. And
oh, sure, but why is our backtester?
Because we're using intraday 1 minute data.
No.
I'm not sure where you're going with this because it's a world-class backtester.
there it is.
That's right.
But can
Love
we say one thing? It just, I hear this a lot. Say, Dan, is it or who is it wrong to take a 3 or 4% profit? Dan, it's take it. And I said, well, here's the problem, right? If you're making on a double calendar even once a month, if you're cranking out a 40% or 30%, that gives you a lot of room in the world of expected returns over the year. I can handle a 15%, but if I'm taking 3-4%, that means my ability to let my losers go against me is difficult, right? If you override the automated back test and you keep taking 5 or 6%, then you screw the whole thing up. Do you agree? Because now you can't, if Matt takes a 30%er, he's not sweating that much if you lose 30%. But if you've taken 3-5% winners and you lose 30, now it's like rejection.
You're if you're trading based on a back test and those are the numbers and you start to change your trading, so those are no longer numbers. I mean, the math is just going to change greatly. In simple terms, what it looks like is if you stop letting your winners run, your losers are going to overwhelm them.
That's right.
I mean, just in simple terms.
This reminds me, we'll close on this. I think next week would be fun to take probably a day, 2 days maybe, and look at, to Nikola's point, the kids want to double their money every day.
It's true.
They don't want any of this stuff. So
it's the Robin Hood life.
I think it'd be really fun to look at some trades that truly are 100% allocation and talk about how you can double your money every day and then also ruin your family's life for generations. So I'm excited about that. So guys, listen, happy 4th of July. Spend time.
4th of July.
If you are in America, spend time giving thanks that we set ourselves free from tyranny. If you are in other parts of the world, take time to learn American football and what we've done with it, and so and go from there. So we'll be back next Monday. Happy trading. Be safe out there. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.